Good morning. Madam President, distinguished members of the Council, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. From 5th to 11th October, I conducted my first visit to the Republic of South Sudan. The circumstances that I witnessed, particularly in the fiercely contested town of Bentiu in Unity State, are among the worst I have ever experienced. The IDPs seeking refuge there face a devastating combination of chronic insecurity, unimaginable living conditions, acute day-to-day protection concerns, and rampant sexual violence. The character of sexual violence crime shocked me to my core, captured in the words of one survivor who told me, "It is not just about rape, it is to break your dignity. It is done to cause unimaginable suffering and destruction." My visit bears out reports that sexual violence in South Sudan is widespread, including acts of rape, gang rape, abductions, forced marriage, and sexual slavery, and mutilation of sexual organs. These violations are being perpetrated by all sides in the conflict. Sexual violence predates the December 2013 crisis. However, since the crisis, sexual violence attacks have reached an alarming level, expressed in a vicious cycle of retribution and revenge. I am gravely concerned about the ethnic dimensions manifest particularly in targeting and reprisal between Dinka and Nua communities. Across the country, women live in appalling conditions. They have little or no access to medical services, let alone to justice. They have few opportunities to secure a livelihood for themselves and their families. Their views are not represented in government or other crucial decision-making processes. One woman activist told me, I quote, "We are living under the rule of men, not under the rule of law," end of quote. When I visited the Juba Teaching Hospital, I was told that 75% of survivors of sexual violence are girls under the age of 18. Their youngest victim is 2 years old, a girl completely destroyed by the rape she suffered. Civil society groups made me aware also of the acute vulnerability of sexual violence faced by women with disability. The challenge of addressing sexual violence is complicated by a prevailing culture of silence and blame game. This exacerbates other critical challenges such as acute lack of medical, psychosocial, and legal services for survivors, lack of capacity of the police and the military to investigate sexual violence allegations, and a lack of capacity of the judiciary to prosecute perpetrators. At the legislative level, it is essential to harmonize customary and statutory law. As it stands, most sexual violence offenses are decided under customary law systems, most often to the detriment of the survivor. Madam President, Excellencies, I believe that national governments hold the primary legal and moral responsibility to protect their citizens from sexual violence and other grave violations. I am pleased, therefore, to announce that at the end of my visit, President Salva Kiir and I signed a joint communique on addressing conflict-related sexual violence in line with Security Council Resolution 2106. I am encouraged by his expression of political will at the highest level and pledge the support of my office and the United Nations system to the government of South Sudan to implement the commitments outlined in this agreement. This includes the issuance and enforcement of clear orders through the military and police chains of command prohibiting sexual violence, developing concrete action plans specific to the SPLA and the South Sudan National Police Service, fighting impunity of perpetrators, and ensuring survivors access to justice through reform and capacity building in the justice sector, and ensuring the provision of appropriate services for survivors of sexual violence. I urge the opposition to show a similar commitment and remind Dr. Riek Machar, leader of the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, in opposition of the command responsibility he bears to prevent sexual violence being committed by the forces under his command. I urge Dr. Machar to issue without delay a communique that clearly outlines the prevention measures that they will put in place. In the name of women and children that I met during my visits, I will say this to the leaders of South Sudan. You cannot wage war against your own people. You cannot wage war on the bodies of the women and children of South Sudan. You must put people, not politics, at the center of your relationships. Although the international community can accompany the peace process, ultimately, only the leadership of South Sudan can make the peace. I implore them to stand in solidarity with the women and children of South Sudan, whose lives are being devastated every day that they fail to reach resolution of this crisis. I implore them to stand on the right side of history, and surely the international community will continue to stand with them. Thank you.